What's going on, everybody? Let's talk about the hot news that's going on. They finally got Trump Dog. Trying to take him down. He's been convicted of 34 felonies in New York. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess you've been paying zero attention to this, because I haven't really been paying any attention, honestly, and I'm embroiled in this shit for the most part. Honestly, I hadn't been paying enough attention, like I said, but I didn't really think they would convict him, because I thought the obvious answer to this is you convict him over some petty bullshit, you're gonna cause more people to support him, and seems like that's what happened. Kind of fucked that up. That blew up in their face. It seems like, as far as I understand, they made like $35 million in donations in like 12 or 24 hours after they announced the guilty verdict. So that seems to be having the opposite effect they thought was going to happen. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. If they're just like psychos, or they honestly are just like political zealots, and they're like, no matter what, we got to just try to take him down at all costs. If they're those type of people, maybe that's what they were thinking. Maybe that's what they were thinking somehow, that it would work in their favor to hit him with a bunch of felonies, and then they get to say, he's a felon, why would you ever vote for a criminal, blah, blah, blah. It's like, here's the real deal, though. Nobody gives a shit about that. The only people that give a shit were never voting for him anyway. So you basically just rallied all his supporters, is what you did. And if anything, I'd say, like I said, if they're getting a bunch of donations and things, getting an outpouring of support of people that are like, hey, this is kind of fucked up, that's not really, it seems kind of wrong, seems politically motivated. You basically just push a bunch of independents. You're forcing them to make the decision, instead of them being like, I could just sit this one out one way or the other. They're like, well, now I feel like I have to, because you're morally wrong. Like, you're trying to send a presidential candidate to prison. And I feel like I remember this right. If you're a felon, I'm pretty sure you're technically not allowed to run for president, but that might not be true. And it's like, what is their end goal? I think the end goal is actually they want to send him to prison, and that's going to even dial it up more. If you actually put him in jail for this shit, actually I should probably describe what this shit is. So as far as I understand it, 34 felonies, all trumped up charges, pun intended. It's literally a money laundering type thing, where they're saying they misappropriated funds, or didn't document the funds correctly, said they were legal expenses. Meanwhile, supposedly he's paying off a porn star or something that he was fucking. And it's like, in this day and age, do people give a shit about that? No. Especially if he's trying to be the president and you're saying, send him to prison. People are not going to like that. They're going to say, oh, it doesn't sound great that he's trying to pay off a porn star or whatever, hush money. They're not going to care that much, I don't think. They're going to say, yeah, he doesn't deserve to go to prison for it. It's a bookkeeping error, basically, that they turned into felonies by saying they purposely lied in the act of hiding another crime behind it. And it's like, they didn't prove what the other crime was. They just said, if you think they did it to hide another crime, he's guilty. Vote that way. So the jury, I guess, obviously came back and said guilty. From everything I've heard about it, the little bit I've listened to and heard about it, I mean, if I was on the jury, I'd be like, what the fuck are we even talking about? Like, who cares? Nobody cares. And it's like, oh, I think it was like $130,000 totally. That they mislabeled basically as an expense, as a legal expense, when it wasn't. And it's like, dude, that's small beans. 130 grand isn't anything compared to the amount of money that just goes flying around in these big companies, the government itself. There's money getting fucking laundered this way and that way. Nobody cares about 130 grand. And I think most people that look on the outside looking in, if they really don't have if they're not supporting one side or the other, and they just start collecting little bits of information here and there, they're going to be like, who is hoping to, who is not a Democrat, basically, who already hates Trump, that is like, they should send him to prison. I don't think it's many people. And the people that are already supporting Trump are now just pissed off. You're just going to aggravate them because it looks like / they definitely are. Basically, they're trying to get him removed from the ballot. At a minimum, they're trying to make him look bad and say he's a criminal and a felon, whatever. And at the worst, they're going to try to send him to prison so he can't campaign, or I don't know if he'll be able to actually run, try to get him off the ballot and stuff in certain states. And that's not going to work. You're going to galvanize support even more. You're going about this the wrong way. It seems like, from what I've heard, the trial was in New York. Everybody knows New York, especially the city. Actually, New York City is heavily Democrat, liberal. There ain't a whole bunch of conservatives and Trump supporters in New York compared to how many there are liberals. So that's obvious. So the jury probably leans liberal. The judge is definitely liberal. He obviously hates Trump from the comments he made and shit like that. Tried to put a gag order on him so he couldn't talk about the trial. There's some other weird thing with it. The dude's daughter, either campaigns for Biden or donated to Biden or some shit like that. So it's there's some obvious things where it's okay, the whole thing's politically motivated, whatever. But I thought they are honestly going to run through, if I would have guessed at the beginning, they were going to run through the process and try to get him for it. Basically just smear him with, he's in court, he's accused of these crimes, blah, blah, blah. But they're going for it. They're going for it now, and I feel like they're tying themselves to this horse, basically, and saying, fucking, we're along for the long haul. And like I said, if they send him to prison over this, I think it's even going to get worse for him, because I was just listening to a video just before I started this one, and they were talking about the presidential betting markets where you can bet on who's going to win, and I think that's a better indicator of who's going to win than a poll or anything like that, because if people are putting their money on the line, they feel they're going to be more confident about it. So whoever's making the odds isn't fucking around with a political bias or anything. They're trying to make money. And his support jumped immediately after they said he's guilty. His support jumped, and his odds of winning went way up. So I don't know what the long game is here. It'll be interesting to watch and see. He doesn't get sentenced till July 10th or 11th. It'd be crazy if they try to hit him with 10, 15 years in prison or something like that. I think each one of the felony counts they gave him carries a penalty, a fine or up to 4 years in prison. So even if they hit him with the minimum for one, and they said you're going to be in prison for 4 years, oh god, that's going to blow up in their face. I don't think that's going to work out like they think it is. I don't know who these people are that are making the decision. I don't know, the New York AG or whatever that's coming down, we're going to prosecute him, give him as much as you can. The judge, if he's just a political nut, I would think somebody higher up in the system would step down and be like, hey, you're fucking this up. You're basically giving him more support, especially when it's pretty obvious it's politically motivated. You'd think the political people would come down and be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're making it harder for us. You're making it worse. But it seems like they're going to go for it. And at this point, I think they're going to try to max it out and say, yeah, he's going to prison for however long they can send him to prison. It'll be interesting. And like I said, I don't think that's going to pay off. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Like I said, I think independence, myself, I've said it in previous videos, I've never voted in my life, but the more I pay attention, the more, this is the same kind of thing, because as soon as I hear you say, he's guilty, we're going to try to basically either fine him a huge amount of money or send him to prison over it, and I go, what's the problem? Oh, he paid a hooker off, and you're going to send him to prison over it? 130 grand? Yesterday's video, United States government just blew $300 and some million in Gaza. Ain't nobody getting charged for that shit. That's $300 million. You think money didn't get wasted? COVID, PPE loans. There's all kinds of shit that's just money getting wasted. And it's dude, you can't be blaming these. Not that you can't blame them, but you can't be trying to enact the law unfairly and bring the hammer down on people that you politically disagree with, because all you're gonna do is rally their supporters, and it's gonna blow up in your face. And I think that's what's gonna happen here. Like I said, we'll see what happens. But if I ask anybody I know who's voting for Trump already, they damn sure ain't not voting for him, because he's a convicted felon on hush money hush money charges. Nobody gives a shit about that. And if they hated him, they're going to say he deserves it. And if you're in the middle and you're level-headed, I think you look and you go, seems like a bit of a stretch to try to put him in prison while he's actively running to be the president. Looks like political motivation, trying to take your opponent out before they can run against you. That's how I see it. I feel like most people are going to see it that way. I'd be interested to hear what you guys say. If anybody's watching this, let me know. You think it's politically motivated? If you got something out of the video, hadn't heard about the trial, like the video. If you didn't, dislike it. Let me know why. Catch you guys on Monday.